We're back here. Got a new location, but I still have my same guest, Jason. We are back re-recording after some audio issues. We're here to break down the Atlanta FCC game because as you know, I'm an Atlanta United fan, and my friend Jason here
Hi.
is unfortunately a FC Cincinnati fan.
Way to take a punch right out of the
And
get go.
exactly. Listen, I got to make up for Adam not being here.
That's true.
Um, all right, so just to go through a couple of the key moments for the game. So the first one that I had of note was Spencer Ritchie's big toe save against Barco in the 18th minute to keep it 0-0. And then we have Barco getting his goal in the 21st off the nice cross from PT. So that led to 1-0 at halftime. And then after halftime, in the 55th minute, Emerson Hyndman makes it 2-0 for Atlanta. But not too long after that, in the 64th, Yuya Kubo gets his first goal and makes it 2-1, gets FC Cincinnati back in the game. And then late in the 75th, Brad Guzan makes a really good save to deny Regaton a chance to steal a point away for FC Cincinnati. So those were kind of just some of the key moments. I don't know if you had some that I didn't list here.
Yeah, you basically covered all of mine except for at the end of the first half. I noted that FCC Cincinnati was kind of like peppering you guys, and then Locadia takes a fake shot, passes off to Cruz. Cruz kind of gets in behind one of the Atlanta defenders and gets a little bit of the jersey, pulls him down. No call, no review. Just wanted to, you know, lay that out there.
Yeah, that's a good one to bring up too. So just some comments in the game. From my perspective, I thought that this was kind of a trap game for Atlanta. They were going into a game where they're the entire league is expecting them to come away with an easy victory because Cincinnati doesn't have the same reputation or skill set that a lot of people see Atlanta having,
Mm-hmm.
and not only that, but they're also missing their goal king, their first game without him. So the other players are gonna have to step up and make up for his presence on the field, his lack of presence on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that Barco and PD did that, and that's the reason that Atlanta was able to get the win today. I think that Barco and PT really started to show the type of player that everybody expected them to be when Atlanta first signed them. Adam Yan stepped in as the new uh, main attacking man for Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't really do too much for me. I thought that he should have been more involved, but with that being said, it was his first game out there. It wasn't terrible. I think that it will get better as he gets some more chemistry with PT and Barco. So if he can step in there and do a decent enough job, then the Atlanta attack should be all right. Um, in terms of FCC, I thought that they actually had a really good game. I didn't think that they did too much wrong. I thought that they were a good threat against Atlanta most of the time, and I feel like the attack is slowly starting to get to what I was kind of thinking about early in the season when I originally said that they were going to make the playoffs. I
Mm-hmm.
think that a lot of the attack has to come through Yuya Kubo, and I think he's got to be the main distributor in getting everything, get the attack together. And if he can do that with some help, maybe from like Regaton,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to get great service into Locadia, and Locadia is going to be a killer for them. I think he could be so good for them, but they got to get him the service. And they didn't do that in this game, and that's why Locadia was kind of not much of a threat too much. So what about you? What were you thinking?
Yeah, so I agree with you on those last points for FCC. I thought that the first half, Locadia was kind of like the focal point at like getting the ball down, marking it off, and passing out to try to start the attack. Um, Second half, he wasn't much of a factor. I thought you guys did a really good job of keeping Locadia and the rest of the attack like in not like a significant position to score. FCC took 14 shots. I think all but um, two were from long distance outside the box. So I thought that was pretty significant. Locadia had like no shot at goal with the header, um, and then the one goal that you guys did let up was a Kubo like knuckleball that Guzan just never saw. So I thought you guys did a good job at that. I have been impressed by the FCC's attack. They've been much better. There's definitely a lot more skill on the attack than last year. But just to show you the just to show the difference of the two teams of the how organized Atlanta is to FCC, because I still think that's the one thing FCC is lacks is like organization and patience. Atlanta passed passed 617 times to FCC's 450, and most of FCC's passes were long distance passes, trying to go for the long ball, and I think that's where they kind of fail because the center backs don't really hold on to the ball. Whereas you saw Atlanta for like the first 15 minutes of the game, they were just passing it through the back line, waiting for something to open up, and that's when eventually Pity takes over, takes the ball, and makes a significant pass. So I think that's just one aspect that FCC needs to get better at. And then that's really what I took out of the game. I think FCC has the skill. It's just a matter of getting organized. And the backline, just not sure what they need to do with that.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with you. So I'll hit you with some questions here, and you can break some more things down for me. So we talked a bit about the attack for FCC,
Mm.
but in terms of the back line, do you think that you've seen any improvement over last year? Now I know that last year the back line was atrocious, so it's kind of hard to, go worse than that, but do you think that there's some potential for the back line to kind of get things together?
So the backline was obviously awful last year. And at the end of last year, when Jans took over and kind of implemented his scheme, they got much better. There was a couple of games at the end of the year where they held a clean sheet, and that was like, I think that was the only point of the season where we held consecutive clean sheets. So I thought that there was something potentially there, and then obviously now that he's not here anymore, there was Yohan Damat came in, and I guess he switched it up because it's there's definitely just a lack of communication and organization. Anytime they get um there's any sort of pressure in the back line, like Waston's looking over his back and wondering where Vanderwolf is, and Vanderwolf's wondering where DePlagne is. DePlagne is like 20 yards away, and so it's a little bit of a mess. I've been surprised that Gutman's been coming off the bench. I thought he really bolstered our back line as a on the left ball back position. It's nice to see Garza back, but he's a little bit more attacking minded. I feel like FCC gets stuck when Garza is getting attacked, and then Watson and Vanderwolf are just easy targets for someone like Pity Martinez. So I do see potential. I haven't been impressed with them the past two games to start the season, but I'm just surprised that they kind of like forewent Jans's scheme, and Domat's just kind of like toying around with it again. So
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. I thought uh, one thing to know from me is I thought Gutman was going to have more of an impact with the team as well. And maybe he still could, it's still early in the season, so he may take over for Garza eventually. But I think that he has a lot of potential to be a solid fullback choice for you guys.
yeah, I agree. And honestly, anyone right now is really better than Planier. I think he's kind of out of position right now, and I think that's only going to hurt us moving forward.
Anybody except Alvis Powell.
Oof, yes. Alvis Powell is much worse than the Planier. I take that back.
All right, so another thing that I wanted to ask you was so obviously year one did not pan out as people would have hoped for.
Hmm.
Obviously, I think, a lot of people had some modest expectations and didn't expect them to be world beaters the first year, but it was pretty ugly. So, do you think that year two is it going to be an improvement on last year? Is it going to be more of the same? What are your thoughts?
So coming into the season, I was actually expecting them to compete for a playoff spot with Jans at the helm. I thought he made some really big improvements at the end of the year last year, like I was saying before. And then I thought the additions of Locadia, Ragaton, CM De Jong just got his paperwork completed, so he's with the team now. So there's a lot of new attacking pieces that are much better than last year. So I was expecting a huge improvement. So with the James firing, I kind of took a step back, and my expectations have decreased significantly. Um, I think you just look for improvement this year. You just look for more goal scoring, which they'll probably get, and they need to figure out the back line. Not expecting playoffs, I would say upwards like 10th place in the table, and then you kind of like chalk it up as, hey, we improved, no big deal. Find your manager of the future, and then you figure it out from there.
Yeah, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. At first, I thought playoffs for you guys, and then after the coach gets released, then things kind of stall a bit. I think that you guys are probably. I mean, obviously the team is much improved over last year. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you guys are following a similar path to Minnesota, where you guys are not, jumping out right at the gate like Atlanta did, bringing in big guys, but you guys are
Mm-hmm.
doing it a little bit slower. But, obviously that's working out big time for Minnesota now. So
Oh
maybe
yeah,
that's the way to go. So maybe once you guys find that coach, it'll really start to take off for you guys.
and it works right now because now that the MLS is going through a little suspension with the games, it gives FCC some time to really like hone in on what they want to do. I think they really need this, so it could work out for the best.
Yeah, I think so too. So one last thing I wanted to ask you. So, um, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know we have a certain podcast host that has a lot of animosity towards, uh, as he calls it, DFFC, Dumpster Fire FC.
Oh my god.
So, wanted to know if there was anything you had to say to our lovely DP host, Adam.
I All I have to say to Adam is that you gotta give us a chance. A lot of the fans have been patient, so he just needs to be patient. I know. I mean, it is frustrating. I mean, there's not much I can say because we haven't shown much yet. But the team is much better now this year. A lot more skill. It's going to be a lot more fun to watch. So just sit back, relax, and let's see what happens. If we get a new manager, this is a whole new team this year. So
You heard it here first, Adam. That's for you.
and
All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before we get into our player of the game, the worst player of the game?
yes, I actually wanted to ask you. He came in late in the game. I wanted to see what you thought of Rosetto's debut for Atlanta.
Yeah, that was something I forgot to mention, but Mateus Rossetto made his debut for Atlanta finally after figuring out the visa issues.
Mm-hmm.
In preseason, he was electric when he played in the one game. He looked really good. That got all the 17s hyped up. They were excited to see him. Then obviously the visa problems held him off the field for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But, coming in for his debut, he's coming in as a sub pretty late in the game. I don't think that he made much of a difference. It was easy for me to forget that he was on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a late sub. I'll be willing to give him more time. I really want to see what he can do from the start of a game. Like starting the game, seeing how he can control things. But as long as Hyman keeps scoring goals, I think Rosetta's going to keep finding himself on the bench right now.
Yeah, I agree. I remembered him coming in, and I was watching the Atlanta stream, so they were kind of bugging out. They were like, "Oh, here he comes, the youth," and then all I remember was him getting a yellow card, and that's all I remember watching. So it was
Yeah,
pretty insignificant from my end, but also great to see him on the field.
yeah, yeah. Good stuff to finally see him in an Atlanta United jersey. All right, so why don't we wrap this thing up with player of the game and worst player of the game. So we'll start off with player of the game. Your thoughts?
I
Best player?
I chose Pity Martinez solely on the fact that the first 15 minutes there was kind of like a stall in action, and both teams were trying to figure each other out, and then Pity kind of just takes the ball at midfield, sends a nice through ball in for Barco, where you were talking about before. Spencer Ritchie makes a big toe save, and I think he really just opened up the game for you guys, and then he got the assist for Barco's first goal. So I thought he just really changed the game for you guys. And without him, I'm not sure if the long ball game or whatever you guys would have done without Petty would have worked.
Yeah, yeah, he was definitely a game changer out there today. So, worst player of the game. Who's getting the roast for that one?
I had to go the Planye. Um, Backline, there's issues, and I always just tend to see him as the weak link. I think he's playing out of position personally. Um, on that first goal, Barco kind of just slipped right behind him, and he was late to come in. I think the ball ends up coming off his knee. Like he was just like kind of like a step too slow.
Hmm.
Um, Loved him last year. Played. I think he played almost every game, every minute for us. But I think you have a better option with Gutman on the bench, and until you see Gutman there, the backline's gonna have issues, and I think he's the biggest issue there.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't start to step it up, he's gonna find himself on the bench.
Hope so. Who do you think was the worst player in the game?
For me, the worst out there was Frankie Amaya. To me, he didn't bring anything to the game. I felt like he kind of just blended in with the rest of the guys, and I found that the few times that I did notice him in the game, it was usually him getting yelled at by the ref for another foul or another foul, and then eventually they racked up so much that he got a yellow card. So I thought that, but he's young.
Hmm.
I think that better games are ahead of him. He'll only get better as the season goes on. So not the end of the world for SEC.
Yeah, and I understand your take. Frankie, I feel like the midfield is kind of like weird the way it is. I think he's playing maybe a little out of his the environment you might want him in. Um, but yeah, no, I agree. He was pretty insignificant at the end of the game.
Yeah. Uh, and then my best player for me was Barco, and it was tough between PT and Barco. Both were really good.
Mhm.
I just thought that Barco added a ton to the attack. He did it on the box score too. He got the goal and the assist. Um, the only thing I would say against him was at times it felt like he was trying to do a little bit too much, a little bit too much dribbling, getting himself into some tough positions and giving the ball away. But otherwise, I thought that he looked electric, and he's finally looking like the huge signing that Atlanta was hoping he would be.
Hmm. There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say Pity and Barco. You could have went either way, but yeah, I agree. Did you have a favorite player from Cincinnati that game?
Um, yes, I actually liked a lot of what Yu Kubo was doing. I know that I feel like he could have done a bit more, but he got the goal for them, even if it was a little weird with the knuckleball and everything. But I saw glimpses of him like really controlling the attack, and I
Hmm.
think he could really be that spark for FCC. I really look forward to watching him. Hopefully, if the season happens again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. First half he was kind of a non-factor, and they went through Lucadia more, and then
Hmm.
Kubo kind of came in the second half and started playing a more centered role, and he really held onto the ball more and really looked to make moves in midfield, and it actually worked out. He made a lot of like he drew a couple fouls I remember early on in the second half and really made Atlanta defend him. So I thought he was probably the best player for Cincinnati that night.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. All right, well, thank you for coming on and discussing some Atlanta FCC with me.
Anytime, anytime FCC you want a breakdown, I'm here.
Well, you're the guy. You're our FCC guy, and I'm sure we'll have you back when RBNY play FCC, or maybe the reverse leg for Atlanta FCC.
Looking forward to FCC getting its revenge on RBNY and beating them 4-0. You heard it here first.
Yes, yes, I'm looking forward to it. I hope they do beat them, and I hope you come on and you roast Andrew, roast him good.
I've been holding it in for so long. There's been so many close games with RBNY already. I'm just looking forward to it.
All right, well, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.